Good evening, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with Women's Motorsports Network, and I want to welcome you to our podcast today. My guest is Mackenzie, and Mackenzie, I'm not going to butcher your last name. I'm going to let you tell us that in a minute here. But I've got a wonderful racing involved gal with us tonight, and I'm excited to hear her story, and I want you to hear all about her. So, Mackenzie, welcome to the show. And I
Thank
want you
you.
to, you're welcome. And I want you to start by just telling us a little bit about yourself, your family, your pets, anything that you're willing to share with us so we can get to know you better.
I'm 20 years old. I currently work as a CNA. I'm going back to school in the fall for I don't know what yet, either radiology or nursing or something.
Okay.
I have two dogs, Rocco and Reggie. And then at my grandparents', where my race car is, we have a lot of pets there, goats, chickens, you name it, we got it. So I just always grew up around being outside, and we're a big family, so that makes it cool.
Okay. And where did you say where you lived?
Sandstone, Minnesota.
Okay. So you get the winters kind of like Michigan does.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, Mackenzie, you're working as a CNA. You're going to go back to school. Sometimes you need to work or take a break in between high school
Hmm.
because I think a lot of kids don't always know what they want to do when they're 17 or 18 years old. So that's a really smart thing, I think, for you to do. And then work a little bit and then say, hey, I really like this. And
Hmm.
then go back to school. So good for you. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank
And
you.
when you were in high school or even, like even your coworkers, do they know that you race? And if they do, what do they think about it?
A few of them know I race. It's not really something like I tell a lot of people just because a lot of people don't understand it.
Mhm.
But the people that do know, and a lot of my friends from high school, they would come to like the local tracks and watch. That's pretty cool. And some of my coworkers, they really like the races because work isn't too far from a racetrack, so they know. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. A lot of them come out, they'll tailgate, they'll barbecue. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that always makes it more fun too. And I we'll as race people, we'll drive hours to go to a race.
Exactly.
But if it's not close for people who aren't really race fans necessarily,
Hmm.
it's good that it's close. And so what
Yeah.
tracks are close to you?
There's Ogilvy Raceway that's pretty close to me. Proctor, Superior. Cedar Lake is our home track, which is about an hour and a half away. There's
Okay.
Brainerd, Princeton. We're kind of like in central Minnesota, so there's a lot of tracks around
Yeah.
us.
That's kind of like me in Kalamazoo. I can go to Indiana and Upper P in
Hmm.
Michigan or anywhere, and we have a lot of tracks. I always say I'm so spoiled because I have two tracks that are 20 minutes apart, from me.
Yeah.
20 minutes one way, 20 minutes the other, and so I'm spoiled. But a lot of people drive 2-3 hours on the weekend to go
Hmm.
to a race, and I admire them for that, even an hour and a half, because you have to be really dedicated if you're going to
Hmm.
drive that far, especially with gas and everything the way it is. So,
Exactly.
yeah, for sure. So, Mackenzie, why don't you, first of all, pronounce your last name for me?
Bjorklund.
I would have not gotten that. So Bjorklund, and awesome. Okay, I'm glad I asked you to say that for us. So Mackenzie, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started racing and like how old were you and who inspired you to get involved in motorsports?
Okay. So my uncle, he used to race A mods when I was 2, 3, 4 years old. I remember going to Ogilvy, watching him, cheering him on. Well, then he got out of it. He started a family. And then my grandpa got into racing. He was a part of our vintage club up here where they just go around the tracks. They don't get a payout. They don't have to pay their admission into the pits. It's a cool organization that they got going on. And then I was 13 and my grandpa bought me a Wasota Pure Stock. And
Okay.
I raced that at St. Croix Falls, Proctor, Superior. Did that for a few years until I turned 16. Then I could join his vintage club that he was running at the time.
Okay.
So we got a full body car, which was, I think, a 72 Chevelle or something. And then a couple years later, he's been having heart problems, so I wanted to get on the track at the same time with him. So he built me his vintage modified. It's like
Okay.
it's the modifieds that they run on the East Coast. Like, it's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, that's cool that you wanted to race with your grandpa.
yeah, and that will always be my favorite memory. And so my grandpa got out of it, and then my uncle got back into it. He got back in the sprint cars, our
Okay.
UMSS 360 sprint cars up here. And so Papa was like, I've always dreamed of driving a sprint car. So Papa was like, well, what if we got you one? And we went to our friend's house, Joe Cuba, and Papa's like, I have a surprise for you. And there's a sprint car for me. Like,
Oh,
it was right before Christmas too, so it was like my Christmas present. It was amazing. So I've been I ran that last season and then this season.
and has that been the favorite thing for you to drive?
I don't know. I really miss my pure stock just because
Yeah.
like back then there were so many of us, like there'd be a B main on some nights.
Yeah.
Just like, but now you can't even get 10 of them at a track no more.
Yeah. I know. It's
So
sad, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I love the sprint. Our sprint car family is just amazing.
Yeah. And isn't that one of the best parts about being involved in
Mhm.
racing is the people?
Exactly. And like I always say, like without my grandpa or my uncle, this like would never be like I would just be still dreaming of this.
Right. So what did your parents think about you wanting to drive a race car?
Well, my dad, he doesn't really care for racing, but he still supports it. And
Yeah.
when I went to him when I was 13, he told me you're crazy. And so my mom, she signed off on the waiver because you have to have a waiver if you're under 16.
Yeah.
And so she signed off on the waiver for a few years, and she was just like, whatever you want to do, you do it. Like, we have
Good for
the
her.
best safety equipment. Like grandpa always
Yeah.
says, it's safer in a race car than a real car.
Yeah.
So
That is sure the truth, isn't it? For
mhm.
sure.
So
Yeah.
it's like we have the best safety equipment money can buy,
Hmm.
and you just got to be careful.
Right. Right. And that's true of anything you do. You could be
Uh-huh.
a horseback rider, you could be a cheerleader. There's so many things. There's hardly anything that doesn't have some kind of danger probably to it
Hmm.
at some point. But if you're smart, you have the right equipment and you're careful, then it should be just fine. So that's all
Exactly.
good. So do you have a 360 sprint as well?
Well, they're classified as 360s, but like my uncle, he runs an LS motor in his. I have a small
Okay.
block. So it's basically just like a run what you bring kind of thing. As
Okay.
long as you're in the parameters of the rules and everything, you're good. And you have the
Okay.
good safety equipment. Our track official with our group checks our safety equipment every night, making sure we got it. And
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing.
Right. So tell me, what is your car color and what number and how did you choose that?
Well, my car color this year is purple. I've always wanted a purple race car, so we just went purple with bright pink stickers and everything. And
Mhm.
I'm 17B. I have been 17K in the past, but this year I went to 17B. It's my grandpa's number, and my uncle is
Okay.
17. That's always been his number.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of keeps that number in the family. So
Exactly.
yeah. And you already told me what your most memorable moment was. So what about your most, how have you done on the racetrack? Do you feel like you've learned a lot? You keep advancing? You've won some races, you've almost won some races. Tell me about that.
Well, it depends on the night, like, but we've gotten a lot of
Oh,
heat wins, but haven't gotten
good.
that feature yet.
You
But
will.
that the sprint car, it's a whole different ball game. We're still trying to figure it out, still trying to get the car set right, and
Yeah.
it's we do a lot of research on it. My uncle does a lot of research on it, and it's just like he got a heat win last year, but it depends who you're running against,
Sure.
like have if you have some people in this heat and some people in this heat, you're
Yeah.
gonna do good. But
Right.
and we don't
Yeah.
have all the money in our cars like everybody else does.
Yeah.
We're on a small budget.
Yeah. And you're there to have fun, and it's not
Exactly.
always about the winning either. So as long as you're having a good time and you're enjoying what
Hmm.
you're doing, which it sounds like you do, then there's no price you can put on that. And that's
No.
worth everything, for sure. So you said your uncle works on the car with you. Do you have anybody else you want to mention that helps with your car?
Um, my uncle Eric, my grandpa Mike, all my sponsors, they're all amazing. We only have a few of them, but they're amazing.
Do you want to
Um,
mention who they are?
yeah, so it's SCS Interiors out of Duluth, Arrowhead Auto Body out of Duluth. We got T Dealers right out here in Sandstone. He makes all of our racing t-shirts. We're just getting new proofs finalized.
Good.
Bjorklund Graphics, my dad did all of our graphics this year. He's just getting started and they look amazing.
Okay.
And then, of course, Bjorklund Racing, which is my grandpa.
Yeah.
So, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Well, it takes all of those though, and
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like I love to hear that it's not just the parents who have to fork out the money or whatever. You've taken time, you've gone out and gotten some sponsors, and
Mm-hmm.
and that means a lot. And then for you to be able to have a chance to talk about them, I mean that means a lot to your sponsors for sure.
Yeah. And like our sponsors, SCS and Arrowhead, I've known them for years. Like they run with our vintage club. So
Okay.
I got pretty close with them over the years, and they're just a great group of guys. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
ask for better sponsors.
Well, that's great. I love hearing that. So, do you ever have a bad day at the racetrack? And if so, how do you
Oh
handle
yeah.
that?
When it's really hot and things just aren't going your way, I get so crabby. My grandpa
Oh,
will even tell me, he'll be like, "Go sit down." And usually I just get out of the car and I walk up to the staging lane and I'm just watching races, like trying to figure out what's going on that track. And usually, if it's bad in the heat, it's good in the feature. We'll make adjustments as needed. So, I mean, the only really bad night I've ever had is when my grandpa crashed his race car and I was a total.
oh,
So,
yeah.
that's really the only bad night I've had.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad you haven't had any really bad nights. So,
Yeah.
what's your favorite part of being a race car driver, being involved in motorsports? What do you love about it?
I just love the big family. It's just like one big family. You see people at the racetrack that you've never met, and you can stop and have a conversation with them.
Hmm.
And then you find out, like, how you guys have mutual friends, and you know this guy, and I know this guy, and it's
Yeah,
just one big family. Like, you
that's
go to
true.
their, we get kids out at our pit spot sometimes after the races wanting pictures and whatever. And that's just amazing too, is getting these younger kids
Hmm.
into racing because they're the future of racing. They're the future. So it's like
Absolutely.
if you get them in it now, maybe when they're 15, 16, they'll be like, Dad, I want to run a Hornet or a Pure Stock or whatever.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And they have to see you having fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, some tracks have the reputation of, drivers, lots of fighting or just all different kinds of negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the things we want. We want kids growing up, coming to the racetrack and wanting to be a driver because it looks like so much fun.
Mm-hmm. And
And
that's where I started. Like, I've
yeah,
been going to the racetrack since I was 3 or 4, and I've always told my grandpa, when I'm that age, when WSOTA allows me to, when they sign off on me, I want to race.
yeah,
And I've been doing it for, this is my 8th season now. So,
right, right. So you're an old pro at the age of
yeah.
20. Yeah. So, you mentioned about the fans, they like to come to the pits after the race. I'm guessing that part of the attraction is that you're a girl and there's
Yeah.
probably not a lot of women, but are there several women that race at your track or not so many? How is that?
I have a few. There's a new rookie in our sprint car class, Ashley Williams. I've watched 2 of her races and she has improved tremendously. It is so fun watching her.
Mhm.
And there's like a couple B mod drivers that are girls, and then we got really close with, when we were building our sprint car, Tori Knutson.
Oh yeah, I know Tori.
And we got pretty close with her a few years back. We got tires from her and her dad when she was running her 410, and she
Yeah.
has literally been my idol through everything. Like, I look up to her and I'm like, I want to run a sprint car just like Tori does.
Yeah. I love Tori. I met her quite a few years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
now doesn't she have a little girl?
Yeah, she just had a
Oh,
baby.
she's that little girl is so adorable. And then
Mm-hmm.
I did see her. I was in Knoxville 2 or 3 years ago, and I saw her there,
Yeah.
and that. But I followed her for quite a while. In fact, she's one of the first gals that I probably interviewed or talked to
Oh,
back in the
okay.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
so
amazing. She has
she
like
is.
been my idol.
Yeah, well, you chose a good person
Yes.
to follow for sure. Yeah. So, what's your goal for your racing career? Do you want to stay in the sprint cars? Do you want to move up to faster car? What are your goals or your dreams for your racing career?
Well, I mean, I love the sprint car. I love it all. But I want to get somewhere where we can run with soda, like a super stock or a B mod, and then we can just race every Saturday night, half an hour away at Ogilvy. Like, that's my dream, is just every Saturday night at Ogilvy, 6:30 start time. Like, now
Yeah.
our schedule, with my work schedule and the racing schedule being so crazy, I can only make like 10 races this summer. So
Okay.
it's kind of hard with all the traveling. And then,
Yeah.
like, we run with 2 different series. We run with the Northern and then the Central. And so it's kind of hard trying to balance what tracks you go to, because, like, the Northern track isn't going to get a good car count on this day. So you want to go there and help.
Yeah.
But it's just so hard. And our sponsors like us where they're at. So
Sure.
I
Yeah.
got what our sponsors say too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's hard, and that's something that I think a lot of people who maybe are and I don't want to say just a race fan, but who are fans, they don't really think about all the sacrifices and what it takes for you to
Mm-hmm.
get to the racetrack, no matter where the racetrack is, close
Yeah.
or far away. I mean, it still takes, you've got to be working on your car during the week, and on Saturday or whatever day you race, you're getting everything ready and that, and it's excuse me, it's just it's a lot of work, it's a lot of sacrifice in many ways, but it's also, if it's your passion,
Yeah.
then it doesn't seem like you're sacrificing, does it?
No, and that's like, my friends will be like, how can you spend your time at the racetrack when you're off? your every other weekend? I'm like, because I love it. Like,
Right.
I will, I've skipped family functions to go to the races. So it's like you miss a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
you're so passionate about it that you just want to go.
Right. And you know that, there's only so many nights, and if the weather
Mm-hmm.
interferes, so you have to go when you have the opportunity, for sure.
Well, and
Yeah.
up here in Minnesota, you never know what the weather's going to do. Like right now, it looks like it's going to rain and it was just 80 degrees out. Like,
Yeah.
you never
Yeah.
know.
Exactly. And you send all that weather across the lake to us here in Michigan. So, have there been any unexpected benefits or challenges to being a woman in racing?
Yeah, there's people that have their doubts. Like I'm in a sprint car racing group chat and they'll always like they're just being funny, but they'll always like poke fun at me, like, oh, you're just a girl, like blah blah blah. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's just they're whether like you're a girl, boy, whatever you are, you're still a part of like this big family. And
Hmm.
like I even have one sprint car driver be like, hey, there's my daughter. Like I'm his
Yeah.
daughter to him. So it's pretty cool. And our series owners, they know like you know your stuff. Like
Mm.
they know what
Yeah.
is going
Yeah.
on and they'll make sure that even if you're a girl, like you'll be safe out on the track and they treat you just like anybody else. You don't get
Right.
really any special treatment and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, and you don't want that. And
No,
but on the other side, you also don't want some guy wrecking you every week because
exactly.
because you're running ahead of him. And so
Hmm.
I've seen that too, but I think it's getting a lot better
Yeah,
overall. Yeah, I
yeah.
think so. So if a mom came up to you after a race and had a little girl with her and said, Mackenzie, do you think that motorsports is a good sport for my daughter to get involved in? What would you say?
I'd say 100% yes. The
Yeah.
the racing family is unlike any other and you will have so much support behind. I
Hmm.
had so much support behind me from people I didn't even know.
Right.
Like I didn't even know who these track promoters were and they were begging me to come up to their track. Like it
Yeah.
really looks good with
Yeah.
tracks and they can get girl racers there and it's
Yeah.
kind of like you're popular.
Yeah.
Like they
That's
want
true.
you. So
It
it's
really
pretty
is
cool.
true. And it's true. And they, not that they don't want guys there too. I get that. But when there's not as many women involved in the
Mhm.
motorsports, and then when there are good drivers and drivers that set good examples and can maybe create a fan base that comes to the races to see that driver, then the track promoters and owners want those drivers to come
Yeah.
because that helps everybody. The more people they
And it
can get there.
exactly brings them money. People will
Yeah.
spend money at the concession stands to get in, whatever.
Yeah.
And like around here, we just have like little rinky dink tracks compared to like Indiana and down south. So it's like you got to get everybody you can to the races.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. And I have a long list of tracks I haven't been to. And
Hmm.
they and I've been to tracks that are maybe a little on the rinky dink side, and then tracks that are, amazing. And honestly, sometimes the racing at the little rinky dink tracks is
Is
better than the
yes,
ones at the fancy
that
tracks. So,
that's
yeah.
like up at Proctor. That's a little rinky dink track in the fairgrounds. Like can't get nothing for a car count these past few years, but oh, I love that track.
Yeah.
Like that is just my favorite track.
Yeah. And so see that, it's not necessarily about what it looks like. It's more about, are you having fun there, and is it a good track for
Hmm.
you to race on? And so there's a lot of reasons to go to whatever track because
Yeah.
And we don't want them to close. That's the thing, we have to
No.
try to support them as much as we can. So, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So, are there any younger drivers, maybe girls or boys, that look up to you or that you've kind of had a chance to mentor at this point, or not yet?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of we have go-karts around here, and that's
Okay.
getting really, really popular. And now we just started this super sprint series where it's like a restricted motor and a sprint car on late model tires. So it really helps them transition from
Okay.
go-kart to super sprint to a real sprint. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited for those little kids to get into a big sprint car because they are amazing in the go-karts. It's like
Yeah.
get them into a sprint car. I know they're only 6, but they're doing great.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that's
just so cool.
it's a progression. They start there and they
Mhm.
work their way up for sure. Yeah. So, have you ever I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. So, you're 20 years old and you're obviously racing at different tracks. A lot of people know who you are. How do you feel that you have, or how do you hope to make an impact on the motorsports industry as a woman, as a successful driver, as a woman who, doesn't wreck everybody? She's out there doing her best. Um, how do you want to make an impact when you're done driving, say, a long time down the road?
Well, I mean, you see those sprint car wrecks where they flip and they flip and they flip, and I don't want to be in that. So I am so cautious. And I mean, at the end of the night, if you can load up your car and in one
Yes.
piece, that is the same as a win. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and we don't have time to fix our cars all week long. Like,
Yeah.
we work on them a couple days a week and then we're back at the track. And then
Right.
we don't have time to do that. So it's like, I just hope people know me as like a good, clean driver. I don't wreck anybody. I mean, I have a temper, but that doesn't really get shown
Yeah.
other than to my grandpa. But I mean, they're just driving clean. That's the
Yes.
biggest thing.
Okay, good. Well, that's a good example to set for men and kids alike. So
Mhm.
that's good. So let's talk about social media, because that's how I found you, which is not
Yeah.
unusual. Is I find all you ladies on social media one way or the other. So how do you use social media to promote yourself and or your race team?
Well, I mean, I have my own Facebook page, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it, I got it. And then a few years ago, I was so tired of posting all the race results and my sponsors on my Facebook page. I'm like, we're just gonna make a Bjorklund racing page. And so we've had that for a few years now, and it's really grown. Like our fan base, what did it say last week? We reached like 9,000 people last
Wow.
week, and it was like, wow, there's really people out here like looking at what we do up in northern Minnesota, little small town, like.
Yeah.
And whenever we post our race results, there's tons of people liking, commenting. Like, it's just, like I said, one big family.
Yeah.
And people from all across the country are finding it. And that is so cool because it's like you've never heard of these people, but
Yeah.
they run the same sprint car as you, or they run IMCA or whatever.
Right. Right. And not just the family of the people that are at the racetracks you go to,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes a bigger family. And chances are you're not even going to ever meet some of those people.
No,
I mean, I have over 10,000 followers. I'm not going to probably ever meet all of them. But
no.
when I interview women like you, Mackenzie, my goal is to someday meet you in person somewhere along the line, because I really want to do that. I feel like, we've come together as women in motorsports, women who love motorsports. And so that makes us kindred spirits and makes us friends. And I've met so many women that way, and young little girls and big girls. And it just makes it so special. I often say, if every racetrack closed tomorrow, God forbid, I would still have all of you as my friends. And so
Exactly.
that's the thing for me that makes the most, it's the most blessing for me, is the people that I've met, for sure. So
Exactly.
you have your racing page, your personal page, Twitter, Snapchat, all the
Yeah,
platforms.
all of
Okay.
it.
Okay. Do you think you've grown to 9,000 followers, which is a really good number. Um, what can you imagine what it would be like if we didn't have the chance to share what we're doing? We would have such a small group of people that even knew that you
Yeah,
raced. And this way, you can reach out and somebody can say, Mackenzie, I run a sprint just like you. What do you do in this situation or that situation? It gives you a chance to network with people all across the world, really.
exactly. Social media has grown such a big impact into our racing because
Yeah.
we do our sponsor shout outs, we post race results for maybe friends or family that don't like I don't have their number and they just want to know how Eric or how I are doing in the sprint car, and
Yeah.
we post winter updates, and we even post like stuff from my grandpa's farm, like if we're not
Yeah.
racing and my cousin's horse race, well that's racing, so let's
Right.
post it, like
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
stuff to like keep it alive.
Yeah. It does. And if you don't promote yourself, nobody else is going to. So you have
Exactly.
you have to keep putting your face and your results and stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mackenzie, at the end of the interviews, I always do some quick answers. These
Oh
are
god.
some of your favorites. And so I don't want you to think too long about it. I want it to just be your quick answer. So, are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right. Your favorite food or restaurant?
Pizza Hut.
Your favorite racetrack food?
Chicken strips.
Your favorite color?
Purple.
Your favorite animal?
Dogs.
Your favorite vacation destination or somewhere that you've already been?
Panama City Beach, Florida.
Oh, that's a great place. How about a favorite candy or snack?
Popcorn.
Favorite racetrack?
Proctor Speedway.
Do you have a favorite movie, actor, or actress?
What's that? The girl driver. It was on Netflix a few years ago. Girl race car
Um,
driver.
hmm,
She runs a
I don't,
B mod. It's so
I don't,
cool.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. I missed
Yeah.
that. Okay, I'm going to look that up. How about a favorite musician or song?
Trace Adkins.
A favorite sports team other than a racing team?
Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, how did I know you were going to say that? A favorite professional race car driver?
Brad Sweet.
Oh, yeah, good choice. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Favorite TV or streaming show?
Orange is the New Black.
Favorite thing to celebrate?
4th of July.
I like 4th of July too. And what was your favorite toy? Cars or dolls?
Cars.
Cars. Okay. Those are my quick answers for you. So,
Cool.
Mackenzie, is there anything that I haven't asked you about or that we haven't talked about that we should talk about so that people know something that maybe I don't even know about you that we need to share?
I don't think so. Just like go like our racing page, Bjorklund Racing on Facebook. Like we
Okay.
post all of our updates from my uncle and I. Just sometimes we post just funny stuff. Like, well, we're
Okay.
getting new t-shirts, so we'll have them on there where you can order them. So,
All
yeah.
right. Well, that sounds great. I have really enjoyed talking to you tonight, Mackenzie.
Yes, I
And
enjoyed it too.
does anybody ever say to you that you have a Minnesota accent?
I've heard it. I have family in Alabama, and they're always like, "You and that accent."
Yeah, I noticed that, I live in Michigan, but I have people that say I have a northern accent, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't see that, but I hear it in your voice. So I
You're
guess maybe
from
we
up
do. I
north
don't
by
know.
Canada.
Exactly. Excuse me, sorry. So, well, awesome, Mackenzie. When's your next race?
Hopefully July 17th at Rice Lake, or June 17th at Rice Lake.
Okay, so
Hoping
not
to
too far
finally
away.
be out. Yeah, hoping to.
Okay,
Praying to the
awesome.
racing gods.
Yeah, absolutely. That and Mother Nature, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I just want to thank you for being on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed talking to you, learning more about you, and I'm happy that I get to share your story with the people that listen to my podcast. And so, when I get it ready, I'll send you the link, and you can share it with your friends and
Cool.
family. And
Yeah,
hopefully, people
thanks for
will
having me.
subscribe and follow
Yeah.
Women's Motorsports Network, the podcast. I hope everybody follows so they can hear stories like yours, Mackenzie. So,
Yeah.
again, I appreciate you being on, and hopefully, you have a good rest of the season. I follow you on Facebook, so I know I'll be able to tell.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.